What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes. In this video I'm going to be reviewing the new weapon refines which have come with this update for female Corrin, Fallen Celica, Berkut, and Sheena. I'm also going to be going over some of their builds for them, and the timestamps can be found in the description as well as on your seek bar. So with that said, let us begin. It was always hard for female Corrin. At first she faced competition from Noe, then she faced competition from her own son, male Kana, and when it came to 5-star exclusives, Adrift male Corrin and Fallen male Corrin were quite ahead in the race. But finally, female Corrin has got a weapon refine that can make her more viable. So Gloom Breath has got threatened attack speed built into it, which is really good because at start of combat she can just inflict those debuffs on the foes within 2 spaces and get the buffs right from the start. And she also has attack speed smoke built into the primary effect of this weapon, and of course the adaptive damage. The weapon refine is exactly same as SAIZO Star, where it gives you stats on your unit depending on what kind of debuff the enemy has got on them. For example, if female Corrin has got -7 attack and speed debuff on the foe, then she basically gets +7 attack and +7 speed to her during the combat because of this weapon refine. So SAIZO can be compared with female Corrin. They both have pretty similar attack speed and defense. However, SAIZO is a colorless unit, so he doesn't have any kind of weapon strangle disadvantage outside of Raven Tomes. He also does not have any kind of weakness to dragon affected weapons, which are super common and are always going to be threatening female Corrin. He also has all the debuffs built into his dagger, so SAIZO Star will just debuff the foe for -6 debuff to all of their stats, so it's quite self-sufficient. And SAIZO can run some other slotty skill like Pulse Smoke or even Savage Blow, which is not something that female Corrin can also do because she can only debuff 2 stats with her breath, unfortunately. SAIZO is also a range unit, so it makes it easy to snipe a lot of threats and a lot of structures in something like Ether Raids. But keep in mind, female Corrin has got adaptive damage on her breath along with this effect, and she also has way more bulk than SAIZO by having extra HP and also extra visible resistance. But still, she is going to be facing all of those issues which come with weapon strangle disadvantage and of course the dragon affected weapons. So Corrin definitely appreciates all kinds of supports from stuff like Aversa, who can just panic all of the units and also provide the debuff. Layla is also a fantastic support unit with female Corrin because she can debuff defense and resistance from her dagger and then just switch places with Corrin, and she can apply the debuffs on attack and speed. Bride Micaiah can also provide the debuffs and also dominance effect, which can be pretty nice for the damage output. Fortune Bow Plus pretty much gives you like a Temari-like effect but for defense and resistance, which female Corrin definitely appreciates a lot. And of course, skills like Sabotage Resistance on allies of female Corrin are going to be really helpful to her. So at the end of the day, female Corrin is still going to be facing competition from the premium dragon units, but still, like, she is way more viable now, which is really great. And also, the thing is that because she's a Lord unit and she's quite popular, she might get like a resplendent version in future. So for the people who do have FEH Pass, they can enjoy extra stats. And female Corrin is the type of unit which basically uses every single stat that she has got. So resplendent stats along with this weapon refine is going to be much appreciated by all of her fans. As for her builds, her budget build is with a budget slot B skill like Renewal, and Res Smoke is definitely something you want to run. You could easily get that from Brunya in the Grail pool, and Flashing Blade is something which you could trigger in both phases. Distant Counter is by far the most optimal slotty skill for her. So if you want to run like a budget slot B skill, then Renewal is a pretty decent one. You could also run this kind of build with Windsweep, and Windsweep is going to be giving you the opportunity to safely apply the debuffs from her breath and then be ready in the enemy phase with the extra stats. You could also run a special spiral build with Bonfire, and this allows you to just retaliate back with Bonfire, and that is going to be doing a lot of damage because she has got quite a high defense. Now, unfortunately, dragons cannot really have access to repel or close call for the damage reduction. If they had, then female Corrin would be a really good user of that because of her speed. But for now, we just have to go with the bootleg damage reduction with Shield Pulse and Sacred Cowl. So this definitely allows you to soak many of the hits which you would not be able to and would one-shot her, like the dragon effective hits. But the problem is that this build doesn't give her the damage output at all, and she already has pretty low attack. Even at +10 merch, she is only able to reach 53 attacks, so she will need a lot of support from allies in the attack department if you want to use this kind of build. You could also run lull attack resistance on slot B. It's one of the premium options that she has got going for her, and this can be really nice to make sure she can tank more easily, and also she can do more damage. And she can definitely be a pretty nice candidate to be used in Aether Raid's offense because she is quite bulky, and this kind of effect can be utilized in Aether Raid's offense. So I would definitely suggest her to use her in the light season, because in the Aster season, you're gonna get absolutely dunked on by a million Thraciers. And if you're gonna be using her in the light season, then Null follow-up is definitely something you need, because you're gonna be facing Bramimons and Yune, and both of them have got auto follow-ups from their weapons. So Null follow-up is extremely good in light season, and she can definitely function as a tank with a build like this, and she can actually have pretty well-rounded stat spread, so that's something you could do with her. Now the final build is not really the most optimal one, because as I said, distant counter I think is the most optimal slotted skill, but you could try this with bonus doubler and have Mystic Boost, so this just provides her self-sufficiency, and if you have a lot of buffs on her, then she can get more stats from bonus doubler as well as her weapon refine. Fallen Celica might have Duma's power in this version, but she also had the curse of being a sword infantry unit. Even when she came out, Fallen Celica didn't really stand out, and she quickly got power crept by a million other sword units who just had better weapons than her and also had better stat spreads. So Fallen Celica was just sitting in the dust for a lot of people because she just didn't stand out whatsoever. But this weapon refine actually makes her quite more viable and definitely makes her really good. So now with Beloved Zophia's primary effect, you can get +4 to all of your stats at all times. It doesn't have any kind of stupid threshold condition like the original effect had. And after combat, if she attacked, then she deals 4 damage to herself. So it's pretty good that they fixed the primary condition, and the weapon refine is definitely pretty nice. This actually does have a mistranslation, but I've fixed this in my image. So this is the actual effect which you're seeing in this video right now, and it's probably gonna get fixed in the game later on. So at start of combat, if she's not at full HP or if the foe is not at full HP, then she basically gets +4 to all of her stats during the combat, and if she deals any kind of damage to foe during the combat, she restores 7 HP to herself. Now there's a lot of confusion going on with her weapon refine. The healing occurs in combat similar to how it does in Minty Kane Plus if you have used Winter Jafar, because the wording is exactly the same. So she's gonna be healing herself during the combat, and after the combat is over, the damage is gonna be happening to her. So basically after the first turn, Celica will pretty much always have her weapon activated unless she's healed up externally by a healer or something like Healing Tower. But in most cases, she's always going to be having her weapon active, which is really great because this is a great weapon refine, essentially giving her +8 to all of her stats during the combat, and that definitely brings her up to the stats of the newer sword units. But still, she's going to be facing insane amount of competition from them because they have just much better preferred weapons which have insane effects. Like Morita has got null follow-up on her weapon, Shannon can just ignore the debuffs on himself, Larsa can just ignore the visible buffs of foe, Fallen Ike has got distant counter sword which loves to get hit by any kind of debuff, and Violet's Sword of Creator just treats any kind of foe as if they were a Gen 1 unit and just disables all of their cheating skills. So when you compare her to all of those units, then she's going to be facing that competition. Celica just trades all of those effects for self-healing, which is actually pretty good because she can always be self-sufficient. Another bonus for Celica is that all of these stats she gets are in combat, so she's not going to be affected by chill or shrine debuffs because they're not going to be increasing her visible stats. Her first build is a budget build using Guard. So this is one of the budget slot B skills that you could run on her because she does heal up HP per hit. So she can basically heal up like 14 HP or I guess 10 HP if you subtract the self damage that she's going to be doing. So Guard could be a budget skill that you could run along with Double Swift Sparrow. And then we move on to some of the expensive builds. So by running these 2 solo skills, she can basically get +14 to all of her stats along with her weapon. And she can abuse something like Special Spiral with Bonfire or Ruptured Sky or any kind of special like that. Savage Blow is of course pretty synergetic with her weapon. You could also run a Flashing Blade build with something like Gale Force or Ether by having lull speed defense. She's already quite fast, so she's definitely able to trigger this with help of Speed Rest Solo and the extra stat that she gets. She can also run Null Follow Up. She's of course really fast, and Attack Speed Push 4 can also be run. And you can just run Flashing Blade and have Ether so that you can charge that up faster and heal up a lot of HP. And ironically, she's actually a really good unit to use when Duma is on the opposite side, because upheaval damage just triggers her weapon right from the start and she doesn't really need to engage in any kind of combat. So she can be made into an Astra tank. Now it's not going to be guaranteed that you're going to be facing Duma every single time, but still it is nice to be used in Astra season because she does have good matchup against Thracier. So she can get incredibly fast at +10 merge, and this is for the Celica fans. And she's just made for close call or repel with this kind of build and with this kind of weapon. So that's going to be giving you a lot of damage reduction, and she can also heal up a lot of HP if you run something like Soul. So if you want some more damage output, you could definitely run some offensive special, but Soul along with the healing is going to be always keeping her healthy. Berkut gets Dark Royal Spear, which is a really good weapon refine that he has got. So at start of combat, if the foe initiates combat or if the foe is at full HP, then he gets +5 attack, defense and resistance during the combat. The refine gives you lull attack defense built into the weapon, and this is really great because he gets extra stats to his relevant stats for making him bulky and for making him hit harder. And lull attack defense is also fantastic, just ignoring any kind of attack buffs that foe might have, so that makes him better as a tank. And the condition of the weapon is extremely easy to trigger because he's mainly used as an enemy phase tank. So the fact that this weapon has got 2 conditions to activate this effect is really nice, and it's always going to be active pretty much. The extra stats which he gets from his weapon refine were much needed because now he can actually compete with Conrad, who's another free-to-play enemy phase Lance Cavalier. Now Conrad, even after this, is going to be having higher resistance, but now at least Berkut can compete and be a very strong option himself. At the end of the day, enemy phase Cavaliers have it pretty hard because of not having too many good defensive skills on them, and the BST penalty makes it worse, but still Berkut is much more viable now as a solid enemy phase tank. And because he's such a popular character in the community, there's always a chance of him getting a resplendent version in the future, which is going to be making it even better. As for his builds, the first budget build that you have got for him is with sturdy stance and close defense. Berkut is not really all that expensive to plus and merge because of the fact that he's been rerun so many times with his Grand Hero battle that you can already get so many copies of him, as long as you didn't fodder him off for Berkut Lance Plus, of course. So this is a budget build if you don't want to have Distant Counter, and Distant Counter is of course the most optimal slotted skill for him that allows him to function at his full performance as a mixed tank. So you could run Quick Riposte with Distant Defense Sacred Seal, or run Guard, or have Quick Riposte as a Sacred Seal. The option is up to you. He doesn't have too many slot B options, like he could run Mystic Boost as I have on this build, and because of his tanking capabilities he could always be used in Aether Raid's offense as a light tank. Again, do not use him in Astra season because Thracier is going to be there, who could be really annoying, and he can just have Pulse Smoke to make sure that he can phase Infantry Pulse teams, and he can get quite bulky with this. Now if you're someone who has already inherited lull attack defense, I know one of my friends actually did this, so you're probably not going to be wanting to refine this weapon for the special effect, so you could just go with a resistance refine in my opinion, which is going to be giving you extra resistance and a bit more HP. So that could just be done as an option if you already have lull attack defense on him. And there's also another way of using him in Aether Raid's offense if you're a really big Berkut fan or really big Shadows of Valentia fan. So basically, you could run him with extra speed by speed stacking on him. So this is a 55 speed Berkut. You want to pair him up with someone like Clive who can have Goat Cavalry, and Lordly Lance, which he has got, is really good for support. So he can basically give the support to Berkut, also soak Bright Shrine debuffs and Chill Speed. And you want to pair him up with Mother Milla even though he's from Rigel. So Mother Milla is going to be disabling the dancers and she's going to be acting as a soaker for Dark Shrine and Chill attack debuffs. So Berkut can get really fast here, and overall the point of making him fast is that he doesn't get doubled, and that can improve his performance as a tank. But of course this is light season, so Yune and Bramimont are going to be present, and because cavalry units cannot have access to null follow up, he's still going to be getting doubled by Yune and Bramimont, so you have to watch out for them. But this is just a cool fun concept which you could have, and you could easily run Peony with this and just have any kind of bonus unit as the last unit on your raiding party. Sheena is one of the original free-to-play friendly armor units that a lot of people built up for arena scoring back in the day, and she has got insane amount of competition now in this day and age as an axe armor, so a weapon refined for her was much needed. So Crimson Axe basically doubles down on her role as a tank. It still gives her -1 special cooldown like Slaying Axe, and the weapon refine is pretty similar to Berkut's Lance, where it's always going to be active in the enemy phase or if the foe is at full HP. So if those conditions are met, then she gets +5 attack and +5 defense, and she also inflicts guard status on her foe. So getting this kind of easy to trigger guard effect is going to be absolutely amazing for her as a tank, and she can definitely enjoy stuff like Weary Fighter or Vengeful Fighter with it. And for the people who still use her as a score stick in Arena, you no longer need to run a expensive 300 SP slotsy skill for max Arena scoring, so that is really good. But still, despite this, I wouldn't recommend you to build Sheena in this day and age because she's just simply outclassed as a score stick in Arena, because now infantry units have more BST than her. So you have to keep that in mind. I'm not saying that because this weapon refine is bad or anything like that, because it's not. But it's just that Sheena is quite outdated when it comes to stats, and she's also an armored unit with bad 1 movement, and she also has to face armor effective weapons all the time in Arena. So that is going to be super annoying when it comes to the Arena gameplay. As I said before, Sheena is quite outdated when it comes to stat spread and BST. But even if you just want to build her up, if you like her a lot, then you could go for +1 merge and have this kind of budget build with double stand skills. But outside of that, for most people, they do have her at plus and merge. Then you're obviously going to be running an Arena build like this with distant counter. You could run Vengeful Fighter with attack res bond because her weapon doesn't really give any kind of resistance to her, which is a bit weird because she is supposed to be a tank. And you could also run Weary Fighter. You could definitely run Ruptured Sky with the Weary Fighter build so that she can just retaliate back with it instantly, because she's not going to be having any kind of special acceleration with this kind of build, so it can always help. Now you could also use her as a mixed phase unit with Bold Fighter and Quick Riposte. As long as the opponent is at full HP, she's still going to be getting the effects active in the player phase, so she could use that with Bold Fighter and have Quick Riposte Sacred Seal. Yeah, you can always use her in Aetherid's offense too. There are 2 ways of using her. First, as a Gale Force armor unit. Gale Force armor units have a unique niche where they could take out threats and then they have enough bulk to survive the remaining threats, which they don't really have a lot of trouble taking on. So you basically run 2 armor units with Gale Force, you go in, take out like 3 to 4 threats, and then just tank the remaining threats and just win the match from there. It is recommended to use this in light season because you just have more flexibility because of Peony, and she can also provide the orders buff, which is really good. So just run double distance defense, which is going to be making her incredibly bulky, and you could just have Gale Force and Bold Fighter. Or you could also use her as a light tank. I do not really recommend running armor units as tanks in Aetherites because of their movement, and because of the fact that armor effective weapons are going to be present. So, but still, if you want to run her, you could just run Noontime so that you can instantly retaliate back with that, and of course have Vengeful Fighter and Pulse Smoke. So that is going to be it for this video. Let me know in the comments which weapon refine from this patch is going to be your favorite, or which one you're going to be refining. I do have a plus in Sheena, so obviously I'm going to be refining that, but I'm also a big fan of Berkut's weapon refine and also Fallen Celica's weapon refine. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their support. If you enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me tremendously, and also subscribe and hit the notification bell, because sometimes I feel like YouTube sub boxes are about as possessed as Fallen Celica. So that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.